Okay. Good evening, everyone, to the Plan Commission meeting for the March 19, 2024 meeting. So the first thing to the agenda is to call to the order to the meeting. Do we have quorum? Yes, everyone is here. Okay, great. Next, we move to the approval of the minute.
I move approval.
I need a second.
Second.
Any comments, question about the minute? No? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the February 2024 meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, sorry, the motion carried. So next, we move to item 3, public appearance for non-agenda items. Do we have anyone on the audience for non-agenda items online? No? Okay. So we move to item number 4, agenda review. Any comments about the agenda? Okay, so next we move to agenda items. We start with 5A. I will open the public hearing and consideration of Ordinance 2024-0-07 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR-05-24 adopting the Spring 2024 amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, amending Map 4.3 Future Land Use Plan Map and text on page 4 to 17 to incorporate a new medium-high density residential land use category and amend the text on page 4 to 17 of that plan for the high-density residential future land use category. Do we have anyone in the public who wishes to speak on this item? No? Okay. So I'm going to close the public hearing and I'm going to have a staff to report about this.
Thank you very much, Mayor. This is an amendment to this is a minor amendment to the comprehensive plan, and it's brought forward to Plan Commission for your consideration by staff. What the proposal here is to create a new residential land use category. The current comprehensive plan designates 3 residential categories, which are low-density residential, which consists of 2 to 5 dwelling units per acre, medium-density residential, which is 5 to 9 dwelling units per acre, and then also high-density residential, which consists of developments of 9 or more dwelling units per acre. So what is coming before you this evening is a medium-high density category for residential that would be a next step up above medium and before we get into high. So our thinking here that the density would range from 9 to 15 housing units per acre. That would get us in a similar kind of density to what we see in Terra Vesa right now. And staff feels that this may eliminate some concerns when we move from a medium density category to a high density category. We move from 9 up to infinity, right? There's once you get into the high density future land use category, there's no top line limit. So staff feels that it makes sense to have a medium-high category that kind of gets us with a more comfortable density, slightly above medium density, but not with an unlimited density in high. So we're proposing a density range from 9 to 15 units per acre. We're talking a little bit how this fits in with what is known as middle housing. So it's not large apartment complexes, but smaller houses, smaller apartment complexes, smaller, more like 4 or 8 units that can be a very important part of a city's housing mix. So staff is recommending approval of a new future land use category called medium high density residential. With this change, we would also need to make a couple small changes to the high-density text because high-density would move to being 15 or more. So I am open to have any questions or comments.
So
So I have concerns with this because effectively we're changing the current high-density residential to be 15 and above, which is going to make all the current high-density then be a minimum of 15, right?
It would.
Yeah,
yes.
so that seems, this would be better suited to do during a comp plan, like full amendment. Either that or we need to make the high-density residential the 9 to 15 and then make something above. So we're not impacting the entire land use map as soon as we change this.
I don't think that, in my estimation from the staff side, in most of our high-density areas right now, once we get into high density, there's nothing below 20 units per acre. That's where most of it ends up.
Yeah.
I understand your concern.
Still seems a little backwards to me.
So could we do a retroactive sweep of anything that is currently 9 to 15 and just state that we're moving that into being medium high? Can we do a survey to identify those parcels and then say?
Well, let me clarify. We wouldn't be changing the map with this. This would just be an option for any future land use changes. So, for example, the one that came before you in Swan Creek, this would be a good example of a good fit for that. Instead of putting them into high density, which would have no top line limit, this would give a little bit more consistency to ensure. So we won't be changing the map at this point. It's just another option if we find ourselves in need of changing, doing another minor comp plan.
I guess to Zach's question though, what happens to a parcel that's currently listed, not built? We don't have a unit number on it, but it's listed as future high density. Does that stay at 9 because it's grandfathered into the old definition, or does it move to 15 and then somebody would have to ask to move it to medium high?
I think that's a good point. We certainly could keep that retroactive and keep it non-existing to the non-conforming and allow the 9.
Start a date and say, anything that was high before this date meets the old definition until we, reapprove or something like that.
Yeah. We certainly can do that.
Carol.
I guess, I have less of a problem with it because I think if you're looking to do a big project and you're already high density, you can go above 9. I look at this as improving our mid-range housing to being able to say, look, we want to change it to medium density or this medium high, then we can go above 9 and go all the way up to 15 without having to, we run into these problems where people want to rezone as high density and they say, oh, well, we're not going to do 200, but once we rezone it, then we have no control over, well, if that project goes away and now it's high density, there's nothing to stop something from coming in that could be 40 units per acre. So I look at it like you can either go medium high or high. They both start at 9, but medium high only goes up to 15. And high will go above.
High moving forward will be 15, and I'm fully in support. Sorry, I was just trying to kind of clarify Zach's question. High moving forward would be 15 and above, then, right? We would have defined zones of medium high would be 9 to 15, high would be 15 and above. There's not an overlap.
Or would it have to be? Could we still have the overlap?
Yes, I think it's fair to allow the existing high density to remain, to allow them to go down to 9. I just can't think of an example where that would happen, to tell you the truth.
Right.
Gabriel.
I'm just saying if people are concerned about changing the existing language.
That doesn't really concern me either, similar to what Carol said, but I do wonder if we can keep that overlap until we're able to update the comp plan. Because I assume that at the next update, you will establish where medium high density is and where high density is, so we could just keep that high density overlap just temporarily until the comp plan update happens.
Yes, and this is what we're trying to do now is to be proactive because we have a housing crisis. Most of the projects that they are coming to us now, they are kind of medium high density. They are like a 915 unit. And this is what we're going to be able to create this missing middle, but also the comp plan is going to be ready maybe in 2 years. So I think this is why we are bringing this forward because can we wait 2 years? You know what I mean? But this is going to be part of the revision of the comp plan, but it's to start thinking forward about some of those projects that are coming to us. Like the project in Brimrock, it was another example of they didn't fit, the neighbors were crazy about, high density, what you're going to build here. But that house was missing the mark for only 4 houses.
Yeah, and I fully agree adding the category.
Yeah.
I just don't agree with making a sweeping change to the comprehensive plan until it's being updated. So if we can keep it at a high density at 9 or grandfather them in to say, hey, you were already at 9, so that's where you can start at. Because I think that offers more flexibility until we can get the comp plan update in.
We can certainly add the clarification language in the document to say that the existing high-density category can remain 9 and up, and then we'll just create, if anyone so chose to move into the new category, that's where the new category would apply.
But isn't this all just perspective anyway? So if somebody really is in a high density right now and they wanted 13 units, wouldn't they ask for a minor comp plan change to medium high? I suppose the timing could be off though. Is that your concern?
I think just not adding a burden step to a landowner just because we changed our definition, I guess is.
Well, and we're limited on the number of minor comp plan amendments we can do in a year. So,
Right.
If every time this happens, it's going to run out pretty quick. So
Yeah.
I think it just offers a lot more flexibility until we get that update in.
So then the high density would,
It will stay.
so then high density,
Well, I think we'd
so high density,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So then high density could fit either definition? Is that what you're saying? Would stay at 9 above, but it would also could be 15 and above at the same time? Or just anything is 9 and above could also be high density?
Nothing is 9.
It's confusing to me how you would kind of keep the current when you're putting in this now new overlapping category.
I think how we would word it in the comprehensive plan would be that the existing 9, there's lots of parcels out currently in high density, and we wouldn't limit them to 15 above. Instead, we would still continue to allow them to be 9 to 15. I honestly don't think that's going to be a problem for anyone, but that option would still be there. And if we had a case where it made sense for Plan Commission to consider a minor comp plan amendment, and there was sufficient support that could take an existing medium density residential parcel to a higher density, such as medium high, that option would be open for them.
And also, we currently have in the smart code the T4 and T5. It's kind of like similar, isn't it?
It is.
Okay. So we are using a smart code too. Okay.
Right,
Yes.
and that's one of the things that we've run into with Smart Code is there were a lot of developments that wanted to do this compact type of development, and we couldn't because the overall size of the development wasn't big enough to qualify for Smart Code zoning. So to have this in the toolbox, this is something we've been talking about since probably 2011, that we really need this middle category so that we can address getting the types of housing that we need without creating undue fear about opening up the 9 to
Unlimited.
infinity.
Infinity.
Infinity and beyond. I think this is something that's going to be extremely useful for us. And I hope we can just figure out a way to get the language done that it isn't confusing. I think telling somebody if you want 9 to 15, you're medium high, and if you want to go 9 and above 15, then you're just high. They can, in my view, they can start at the same point. I don't see it as being confusing, but I understand that this is government and, and people like their ducks in a row. But to me, it's like if I want to go up to 15, I do the medium high. If I want to go above that, I go high.
Right, yeah.
Because I think you're right, Deanne. I don't think anybody's going to be looking to go with lower density if they're already high
If
density.
they're already high, that's just not how the projects are coming forward today.
Right.
I have another comment. I am also fully in favor of this, but I'm wondering if our language is more complicated than it needs to be. And also there are terms used without a definition, so I'm not exactly sure what a courtyard multifamily is. And then when you go down to the change to the high density, we're keeping townhouses in there, and I'm not sure what that definition is. But so couldn't we just do medium high, as this category includes small lots, single family, detached or attached, and all forms of multifamily? And then the high density is just all forms of multifamily, and you take care of the density by the 9 to 15 and the over 15. I suppose, I don't know what that does then to the ones you're grandfathering in, but I just think when you start listing things, you potentially run into a trouble of not including everything. If you have terms in here that aren't clear what they mean, I don't know why we have to be so prescriptive.
If you are in the development industry, all of this terminology are very well known, you know what I mean? So, and I think,
But what?
you know what I mean? So, I don't know.
I understand.
What if there's a new term? I mean, what if there's a new terminology that comes? I don't know what we gain.
Well, aren't
by
those things
being
listed
this
as just
prescriptive.
purely examples
Yeah,
of those housing
yeah.
types? I don't think it's anything to do with the actual restrictions that we would put on it. The restriction comes down to the 9 to 15, 9 plus, hopefully in the future 15 plus. But those are just, in my mind, when I read that, the text to me reads as these are examples of what that might look like based on that kind of a density.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right. It says includes, though, which means that something not listed isn't included. And I don't know what would not be listed. I just don't know what's gained by being this prescriptive instead of just saying single family and all forms of multi, and then high density is multi. And then you hit the density.
And answer your question. Oh, there we go. I can jump in and answer your question just from a kind of background standpoint, which we just left the language that was already in the comp plan for the most part, simplified a few terms, kind of like you said, that was confusing. But somebody said earlier, in the spirit of kind of keeping it consistent with what was there and not making too broad of changes, we didn't want to alter it too much. So that's why, I think that's where courtyard multifamily comes from, references to townhouses, et cetera.
And we certainly can simplify. I guess what we were trying to get at here is that it's more of a scale issue than in terms of the building size. So it's certainly possible to have 5 to 9 units or 9 to 15 units per acre in a 40-unit building on a big lot, right? And so that wasn't the intention of this category. This category is meant to be the smaller scale units of buildings that might have 4 or 8 units in the building. So it's a more urban kind of context, but more similar in scale to your typical single-family residence. So I think Zach and I would be happy to go back and to rework the terminology to better. So we listed these particular items: single family attached, 2-family, 3-family, 4-family, to help us kind of understand that we didn't want to see a 40-unit of building here in this particular kind of development. But I'll leave that to the commission.
Any other questions, comments? Carol?
Is that where, if we left the starting point with 9 on the high density, if somebody wanted to do something that's different from the categories that you've already listed for medium high, then if somebody wanted to do a 40-unit building, they'd have to go with high density instead of medium high density?
I mean, I was just going to say, from a tracking perspective, especially going forward and the way that we look at what we've approved, wouldn't it be cleaner for us to define medium high as its own range and then high as something separate beyond that? It would make laying those things out from a data perspective far more clean, and we'd be able to understand that this is what we have approved for medium high, this is what we have approved for high that would go beyond 15. And so I would actually say, I don't know that there's a use case. I think people are conflating two things here. I think that the stuff that's high right now is going to be retroactively, grandfathered in to say you can still go, 9 and above, right? But going forward, if we're going to set new definitions and new buckets, I think it makes far more sense for us to set finite amounts for each term so that as we look to plan this in the future and lay out how many plots we have of each, we have a quicker understanding of what that means.
I don't think so. We need to go that.
What, Deanna, what do we mean by small scale multifamily versus all forms of multifamily and high density? And also, I'm never quite sure exactly what a townhouse is in terms of occupancy.
So, like I said, what we were getting, what I was intending to mean by this small scale multifamily is multifamily in smaller buildings with a smaller number of units, right? It wouldn't be 50, 60, 40 units in one building. The idea here is the scale of the buildings in terms of the number of units and the size of the overall building is more consistent with a neighborhood, a more single-family or two-family neighborhood. And a townhouse is generally just referred to as a building that shares its sidewalls with another unit.
We are doing this in Terravesa, in Smart Code, so we are not reinventing something new here. So we are trying to we are trying to create a missing middle housing in Fitchburg. So this is what we're trying to do here. We are not doing something new that we are not doing it. Gabriel?
I'm sorry if I didn't. I'm absolutely in favor of this. It's the language that I was discussing, how we describe it, that I'm focused on. The concept I'm absolutely in favor of.
So you don't like the word
sorry,
includes. You want to, that one is your concern.
Well, I think it's it complicates things to list all the different variations in, let's say, when we go to medium high, and then we refer to small scale. And I'm sorry to bring, kind of who I am into this, but small scale doesn't mean anything necessarily. And townhouses obviously fit into the medium high density. So it's just use of words that are not clean and clearly defined. And I just thought you can accomplish the same thing by just medium high is single family and multifamily, and then high is multifamily, and you deal with it with the density. But
We can go back and
Okay. I don't know, Diana. Well, they can rewrite it, but
Would that require us to go back to the?
no, we need to vote.
Okay, yeah, I know, that's why I'm asking, because I do want this to move forward, because I
No.
want this to be on the table, so.
Yeah, we need to, if we can do it tonight, but
Because the language I guess the language just doesn't bother me as much, but I'm okay with it as is. I think the point is, Shelley's point makes a lot of sense to me, but at the same time, I guess I want to move this forward, and I think that is a good point that maybe as we look to update the comp plan, maybe we should think about those definitions and think if we can clean those up and make them more simple in ways, but I'm
But like
personally okay
this-
with the list.
If this mimics comp plan language currently, that hasn't restricted us before, right? We've approved projects primarily based on the density
Yes.
rating, not on the name of the house
No,
or the characterization.
exactly.
So I guess I would agree that we could simplify the language when we move to comp plan, but I don't know that we need to do it now if it hasn't restricted us so far.
And I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but part of the intention with the language here being, say, for example, if you had a really large lot that was mostly stormwater easement, if you removed all of this and made it just say multifamily, you might be able to do a 48-unit multifamily building, whereas the language proposed this way would require that to be broken up into more smaller scale multifamily, so it could still be developed that way, but it would not be allowed to be those things that you'd be more characterized by high density that we traditionally think of as like larger apartment complexes. So that's the idea. Maybe probably could have been worded better, but that's what we were going for.
Any other comment? Steven, do you have a comment? No?
I will move to approve Plan Commission Resolution PCR-05-24.
Second.
Oh, wait a second.
Are we adding in the grandfathering as one of the conditions?
Diana. Second.
Yes, I mean, we can add into the text that we will include in the text that existing high-density residential areas may continue to go down to 9 units per acre.
Okay, so all those in favor of ordinance 2024-0.
Sorry, that was on the, I did the PCR first,
Oh,
just so you know.
oh, you did PCR? Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the resolution PCR-05-24 with the language that we just was included, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. So I need a note.
I move to approve ordinance 2024-0-07.
Second.
Any additional comment? No? Okay, all those in favor of ordinance 2024-0-07, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. So next we move to the 5B, and I open the public hearing and consideration of conditional use CU-2535-24, request by Ravin Shah, agent from SFMA Deals LLC, to obtain a conditional use permit to allow the construction of a 100-room hotel located at the corner of Limestone Lane and Nesbitt Road. So we have a couple of people that want to speak. So I'm going to call Ravin Shah. He wishes to speak, I imagine, in support of this. And then Bob Seeger. He wishes to speak in support. And I don't know, I don't understand the handwriting. Dipali, in support of the above. Okay. Hello, people. You're back again. Okay, can you introduce yourself and then...
Yeah, I'm Ravin Shah, the developer, and Bob Seeger, the architect.
Okay, thank you. Welcome back. Okay, this is for you.
That's the old one. That's the old one.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
So speaking in support of the conditional use permit, most of our commentary is actually for the ADR, but this, again, just to recap, we're looking at a 100-room Marriott hotel. Spring Hill Suites is the flag. And this is the actual revised site design here that we have in front of us.
Well, and there's a couple small modifications to that.
Is there a way
Design-wise.
I can show from my laptop?
But
I don't know if you're logged in. You'd have to have a Zoom account. Oh. You'd have to have the Zoom link to. So if you tell me,
Sure. There's one more submittal that was done that has an updated rendering with some tweaks to this plan.
it's an open go. Okay. I'm going to stop. Let me see if I can get it for you.
Sure.
It's in the ADR. All right. That's elevation cut sheet. This one? Okay. All right. Okay, all I have is the site plan for you, but I got the one up here.
Okay.
You need to come in.
It should.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Let me explain this. Well, first of all, these few refinements are in response to the letter that we received from all of staff's reviews of our original submittal. And then in addition to responding to all of those, one of the things that personally bothered me a little was the entrance itself, the old one versus this one, where our focus into the lobby had a little bit of a tiny center landscape feature. And as you first drive in, I wanted that to be more impressive. And I wanted to reduce the pavement that the engineer, as he interpreted my sketches, submitted in the first submittal. So basically, it's the exact same layout as submitted in our initial architectural review information, with just the revision at the entrance that gives us a much more gracious approach to the canopy and a very large landscaped area as you enter the property, compared to the first one that popped up when we just sat down. The other small refinements that you may have were, there was a request for more of the stone feature that was incorporated in the prototype to be incorporated in our design, basically at the first floor, and as it rounded the building, as you'd see it from the streets. And that elevational work was also done. And I believe we received the comments last Thursday, was it? So we were a little short on time to get everything back, but it was submitted today with the same information. And then the other addition to the comments that we returned for Friday were the cut sheets for what the light fixtures looked like. And it should be noted that they are exactly the same fixtures as the committee approved in the Stay Bridge. So it's very consistent for the building that's right behind it. And those are the main three things that we couldn't get in by last Friday, but answered the rest of the 5-6 pages, I think.
Yeah. With regards to conditional use, some of the questions that were asked were regards to the shuttle connectivity, I know, between Staybridge and the Spring Hill. Shuttles will be shared between the two properties. They will be traveling mostly for corporate guests to and from the airport and corporate headquarters within Fitchburg and Verona and Madison. Currently, Staybridge has 2 14-passenger vans plus a sedan. So we anticipate adding at least 2 more 14-passenger vans for this next property as well. I also know some of the other questions were asked in regards to the outdoor components of the property. There will be an outdoor patio. There's access for that to the guests. There's typically quiet hours observed, though, post 10 p.m. for that. No live music event type space at this property is also anticipated. And all the hotel amenities will be restricted to just the guests. There might be, I know there's a question in there in regards to allowing the public to use some of the facilities. There is some flexibility that might be there to allow like the public to use the pool or the gym for a nominal fee. That'll have to be vetted with the franchise at a later date.
I have a question from the Economic Development Director.
Yeah.
He asked me if this hotel will have a bar.
Bar, yeah. So we're looking at adding, we will, there's some photos probably when we get to the ADR that I had uploaded. So they'll have more of like a lounge. So it won't be a full-blown bar per
It's
se.
not a bar public watering hole, but
It's more of like a lobby lounge.
it's a lobby lounge for the hotel guests that is really a nice amenity when you're in a relaxed situation.
But it's going to be only for the guest.
No, that'll be open to all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
No? Diana, do you want to do your report?
I certainly do. So this project came before Plan Commission last month as the 19th amendment to the Orchard Point CDP, or Comprehensive Development Plan. Plan Commission did approve that, and Council also approved it. The next step to move this project forward is the conditional use permit, which is before you, and then also the ADR. The conditional use permit would allow the 100-room hotel with 5 stories. The applicants have provided the site plan and landscaping. The applicants have already noted some of the updates in the site plan for you. One of the things that I did note there that has been changed but not reflected in our conditions was staff had asked for sidewalk connection from the front door of the hotel to the sidewalk. So just thinking about pedestrian access. You can see that the applicants have already addressed that particular condition. One of the other thinking was just staff had some concerns that we wish to see some additional durable materials, including more stone and masonry elements, especially on that street facade and especially on that first floor, which, as you can see, the applicants are willing to work with us through that. Staff is also looking for a little bit more information on the dumpster enclosure, patio materials, and retaining wall. Staff notes that the landscaping along Limestone Lane, that we would need to work a little bit more with the applicants just to ensure that the parking areas are properly screened from the right-of-way. I believe that's entirely doable. And staff also made some suggestions to ensure that there is wide enough sidewalks where possible, and especially when the sidewalks directly abut a parking stall, that they really should be 6 foot. The applicants have assured us that that is the case. Staff also notes that the emergency access easement on the existing CSM still needs to be released and relocated. That is a process that would need to be completed before a building permit is issued. It does not require a new CSM, but it does require some additional legal work by the applicant's legal team. Staff has also requested that the applicant at least attempt to coordinate with the neighboring property owner for the hillside just to the west of this site that needs to be cleaned up of weeds and debris. The applicants have noted that they are willing to work in any way possible to make that happen. Public Works had included several comments regarding the consideration of an 8-inch water line. The applicants are willing to address Public Works concerns. So staff does recommend approval of the conditional use with the 3 conditions. And then staff is also recommending approval of the ADR with 16 conditions. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Do I need to close it?
Oh, yeah, we probably should. Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to close the closed session first. So now we are open to commissioners for questions. Any question?
Can I make one comment?
Yes.
In regards to the sidewalk connection, I did send the site engineer a sketch with actually a dual pavement marking from the public sidewalk past the landscape island right to the front door. And if I'd have been a little more diligent this morning when he sent me that, I would have told him, you forgot my sidewalks. Oh, actually, he shows one.
It's in there on the.
He shows one.
Yeah.
I have one on the other side also. I like the symmetry of that, the entrance to look the same as you enter the focal point, which is dead center. So yeah, he does have one in there, by golly. Okay. But we do intend to incorporate the pedestrian connection to the front lobby from the public sidewalk.
Okay. Gabriel.
I believe it's in the packet that you've included some permeable surfaces in the design. Could you talk about that?
Permeable surfaces. Pardon? Permeable surfaces.
Yeah, there are there is to make the engineering numbers correct. There will be a permeable bituminous so that the ratios are right, and that is shown on the drawing.
Oh, and that's that one section of parking lot, parking
Down
stalls?
here.
Yep.
Any other question?
I guess one other one.
Okay.
I thought those were sewer lines.
Do you have a sense of when you guys might get started?
As soon as possible. We're actually, Bob's probably can speak better to that.
What's that?
How soon we can get started?
Production drawings, staffing, clearing schedules in today's economy is marginally difficult. But we have the team of engineers and additional architects and draftsmen put together, and we're trying to wrap this up for final pricing end of April, early May. So Ravine has authorized us to full blast ahead. So our schedule, permitting with all city approvals, is to move along quite quickly.
All right. Good to know. Any other comment, question?
I'll move approval of conditional use CU 253524 with the 16 conditions laid out by staff.
The first one's only three.
3 conditions. Thank you. 3 conditions laid out by staff.
Second.
All those in favor of the conditional use, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The conditional use is approved. Okay.
I move approval of ADR for Spring Hill Suites with the 16 recommendations outlined by staff. Conditions.
Can
Second.
I ask a question about?
Yes.
I thought we weren't on the ADR one yet. I was kind of wondering, you talk about adding some stone. Having a lot of ephes on a building is always not one of the things we like to see. And I noticed you said you were going to add stone to one side of the building. I wondered if you could tell us what that is and if you have any kind of renderings that show what it will look like on the building.
Do you have that? It's on the elevations, right?
What's that?
It's on the elevations.
It's on the elevations, and it's the same submittal we sent earlier to.
It was hard to tell from the pictures or the drawings in the packet.
This is your most recent one, Bob?
Is that the one that came through this morning?
Yes. Just hold on, it's coming.
Okay, no problem.
Everything has to have patience
Appreciate
with
it.
the computer system.
Brian.
Okay. All right, so we first started by wrapping the canopy columns all in stone, and then having everything at the entrance in stone, and that wraps to what we call the west view, to the stair tower. And then the stone continues as accent points with around the fencing of the courtyard, outdoor gathering space.
Exterior courtyard space, right? Oh, there.
Okay.
Can everyone see my?
So there are stone features to that wall that encloses our patio, and then the stone continues all along the base of that first floor to the corner, wraps the corner, and as you see on Nesbitt Road, then, which we call our east view, the stone wraps at the first floor, goes all the way down to everything you see from that lower parking level, and then jumps down as we wrap around the corner to what we call the north side. So there's an extensive amount of accent really at ground level that you have most contact with.
And I get your point too about the EFIS. It's kind of a give and take with the brand in terms of having a product that looks the same no matter where you go, that we have to address. So with that stone that Bob has called out, we will try to kind of get that look just right.
Well, and I think having it along the bottom too is helpful,
and
because
hopefully
it
we
tends
don't
to
get
be
any
above the drip line
resistance.
is where you have the most problems with it degrading.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't get resistance from the franchise folks, but we can usually get approval from them when we say that the city insists it. So.
I think also for the retaining wall.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Oh, and then there was also a question about the retaining wall, and actually, there is indigenous stone that exists in the retaining wall on Nesbitt Road, pretty much from that pancake house towards his property. So as you see that retaining wall, it will be the same and consistent material.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we have a second? Who second?
I did.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So all those in favor of the ADR, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. So it's approved. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we move to where we are. 1 second. This one, 5D. Do we have anything?
Yes, you all have.
Okay, so 5D is the final plat FP-2536-24 requested by Brian Tosiski, agent from Mike Heller, to obtain a final plat approval to subdivide one outlot into two building lots for property associated with 6036 McKee Road. So we have online Brian. So where is Brian? Oh, here. Okay. Is Brian here? Oh, there. Okay.
Yes, I'm online.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, please.
Hi, this plat this is the second time submitting it here to the city of Fitchburg. Thermo Fisher has a client that is looking to sign an agreement here this week, still potentially. Just trying not to name the client, not knowing if the agreement will go through, a similar process to last year. But this is here before you today, obviously with the list of conditions that the city has put forth, and trying to get this parcel separated out. It's a 7-acre parcel. splitting from the total 70 acres that they do have, and be able to sit and sell that parcel off. So we have done a comprehensive plan that the city required. This being a 7-acre parcel over the 5-acre triggered that. The first deal, an agreement, potential buyer, I should say, that Thermo Fisher had fell through. So this is the next potential buyer. They are looking to move forward here with this week to get an agreement in place. So that's kind of where we're at here this week.
Okay, Diana, can you do your report, please?
I certainly can. As Brian noted, this final plat was approved and approved by Plan Commission and approved by Council in 2022. This is an identical plat as what was approved. And what's happening is they're creating the 7-acre parcel that would front on McKee and Spoke Drive. And then the second parcel would be created as almost a 26-acre parcel to the north. When this final plat came before Plan Commission in 2022, it was also reviewed by the Tree Advisory Committee at that time. They made a recommendation to the applicant to create a tree survey. Of particular concern is parts of the site on the 7-acre parcel on McKee is wooded. And so they requested a tree survey and then to identify if there was any desirable trees, and then to work with the city forester to see if there would be any possibility to protect any of the trees. At this time, staff does not know the quality and the number of trees on the site. And as Brian noted, we don't know who exactly the party that is interested in purchasing the site at this time. I think that would become known fairly soon. And so there is a condition that does reflect the potential of creating that tree survey, and just to identify if there are trees that could be saved in the future, depending on the site plan development. So the staff recommends approval with the 17 conditions. They're essentially the same conditions as came before you last time. And I'm available for any questions about that.
So can I just clarify, when it says in here, condition 16 suggested by staff reflects the same conditions approved by is that, I just want to make sure that the 4 that were suggested by tree advisory are actually being captured. Is that 17 now at this point? That like if we do move forward with this?
Yes. I didn't create a separate condition for each one of those 4 items. I was just reflecting that in number 17.
But 17 is intended to basically add those 4 to the condition of this. Okay.
That was my intention.
So when we are going to have the tree survey?
Well, that would need to come before you with the architectural design review and prior to any building permits.
Okay.
A tree survey has not been done.
I just have a question. Since the the tree advisory recommendations are now almost 2 years old, is there anything that would suggest it might be changed now, especially since our tree policy was implemented in the interim?
Actually,
or do you think everything that was?
Yeah, I can speak to that.
Okay.
Actually, our tree ordinance would have no impact upon this project. The tree ordinance only impacts preliminary plats. And so what's before you is a final plat. And in our normal process, this is not a project that would be referred to tree advisory.
Gabriela.
I happened to be on tree advisory when this went there, and I remember Anna Healy did a quick look at our forester did a quick look at the trees, and she did say that there's a lot of high quality trees in there and obviously they'd have to take a look at it again, but I guess I just have a hard time seeing that this lot would be anything but like clear cut of all those trees. I guess I'm not sure how the final building, what the plans are, and the fact that we don't know what the potential buyer is. It just seems hard for me to believe that we won't just completely cut down that wood lot. And so I struggle a little bit with this.
Yeah, I definitely echo that concern.
Any other comments? No?
Can the representative give us any insight, or is that something that there's no way to know at this point?
What I can say at this time is that the potential buyer would be certainly a community project, and certainly it would have community outreach or benefit. I have been a part of the Thermo Fisher fill site for the last couple of years as well, so I do know that some of those trees over there on the east side of the bike trail there, just adjacent to this parcel, is a lot of brush, and that is kind of what this parcel is. I can't say to what the future arrangement of the building layout would be and what the future developers would keep or would not keep. I know that this was certainly a concern 2 years ago, and certainly it sounded more like an advisory rather than a requirement. But that would have to obviously come before Plan Commission before any plans and approvals were set forth for that. So.
I have another question for you, Diana. So in the future, if we know, when the survey is done, we know that there is a quality of tree or, so we can add in that requirement for the ADR to have a plan to replant some of the tree that they are, yeah?
Certainly. Oh,
yeah?
yes, certainly. That could be part of the design package to ensure that there's adequate tree canopy.
Do we have any influence over building placement, though? I mean, replanting is one thing. Losing heritage trees because of where the building ends up falling or how the development ends up progressing is not something you get back with tree planting. And so I just would love to understand if we can say that, if there's a swath in here that would keep that from happening, and that if they can keep grounds that would allow for those things to be part of the, beauty of that development and the benefit of that development while retaining them, I think that would be a strong preference on a lot like this. And so I'm just curious what our abilities are there.
We have a wide range of ability to negotiate and work with a potential developer, and certainly staff and I'm certain whoever comes forward would be willing to work with us. If your specific question is, do we have a code to prevent them from cutting down their trees? The answer is no.
Can you put like a aerial image to see how this lot
Yes.
look like from,
Let me just go take that off a minute.
I am trying to do it, but I can't.
Yeah.
A little history on this development is that we were given an industrial grant from the government to bring in manufacturing in this area. And I don't know that there's any manufacturing use where you aren't going to have a large footprint. And it is unfortunate, but that's the intent of what these properties were done. That's how these roads were built. It was part of the 18151 construction and part of a larger overview plan for this. And, if you look to the larger area again, I mean, if you even zoom out beyond there, this is not an area that has, a lack of trees. If you look up, and the whole Dolly Conservancy is right by there. If this were the only island of trees that existed in this entire area, I think it would be a bigger issue for me. But, you know, there's a large swath of trees on the east side of the bike path, and then there's the entire Dolly Conservancy, and then to the north you have the entire Duns Marsh and then the Arboretum.
But there's also 2 lots fully cleared already. So I guess part of my question to that is, could we be subdividing the space that's already cleared with access roads, you know, that wouldn't have to negate, you know, require us to do this? So I can fully appreciate the sentiment, but we've got land ready that, you know, would likely take less prep and wouldn't, you know, sacrifice greenery in this way.
But to Deanna's point, the city doesn't regulate whether a private landowner can cut their trees down or not. I mean, we can encourage them and request for them to put trees in, but to turn down a development or impede a development because we want to save 3 trees, you know,
That's
I mean,
not
a
what we're
lot of
talking
that
about here,
could
though,
be,
but, okay.
well, a lot of this could be locusts. We don't know what all of these trees are.
Yeah, I don't want to remove our ability. I don't want to get too far down a road with, you know, we get in a survey and we find out there's nice oaks in there and then we have no control. So I guess that's why I'm having the conversation now. And if the conversation could be had of, can you cut a 7-acre plot from the cleared land? Maybe that's my ask. Or, you know, how far are we getting before we get a tree survey? Because that was what was agreed to 2 years ago as well. So just want to make sure we're committing to, you know, what's been asked and what's possible.
Deanna, can you point out,
Yeah.
where's the lot we're talking about?
It's a project.
Deanna, can you
And
put
Brian,
your cursor?
yeah, Brian can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, let me just check something.
Is that one is the whole lot?
Yeah, you had
So
it right
here's
there,
the
Deanna.
road. So here's that access road approximately. So I just have to orientate myself. Yeah, you're approximately the 7-acre line is right about in here.
The intent of doing that is because there are already services stubbed into that parcel. Thermo Fisher is trying to reserve some right and frontage to, I think it's Spoke or Sprocket there, but that is basically a private access way into their facility that they do own. I have had conversations with Tracy from DPW on looping the water main, which I think is number 3 condition on there that has been discussed, and plans will be brought forward to the city for approval for that. I have this past week also updated at least the plat with some of the conditions that were requested on here that Deanna and the city had sent over from their review. I'm waiting on final comments on Monday from the DOA to be able to resubmit that plat.
Gabriela.
So I appreciate that the tree advisories committee was included as a condition, and I you know, I'm sure that Brian can pass along to the tenant that we do hope that they'll prioritize the trees. I'm not going to vote no on this. I kind of want to see what comes forward, but it's a concern, and I think that's been made clear both in the conditions and in the conversation. So, thanks.
Any other comment, question?
All right, I'll move to approve final plat FP 2536-24 with the 17 conditions noted by staff.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of the final plat, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion carried. Thank you. So next we move to...
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian. So next we move to 5E. Okay, 5E is an ADR from Sub-Zero Conference Center requested by Andrew Laufenberg, agent from Sub-Zero Group, Inc., to obtain an architectural design review for a proposed corporate conference center to be located on the property associated with 2835 Babs Drive. So we have a couple of people that wishes to speak. Oh, really? Oh, no. So I'm going to call Andy Laufenberg. He wishes to speak and answer questions. I don't know where is Andrew. Okay. And then Clinton Collins, also from Sub-Zero. He wishes to speak and answer questions. So.
Okay, well, I'll give you a real quick overview of this project. I'm Andy Laufenberg with Potter Lawson. We can go to the next slide if you don't mind, Deanna.
Yeah.
Is the mic on? Move closer. All right. This is the proposed site. The proposed site is a vacant site north of Sub-Zero's existing, the barn site, as we call it, or is it Harvest Havens, is the technical term, in between Commerce Drive and Budds Drive. We can go to the next slide. And this is a little bit outdated of a rendered site plan, but the intent is the same. It's the idea that there is a winding path that meanders through the site, up the bluff and through a series of berms and swales that direct your view and conceal your view to open up into vistas of the building and looking down the bluff over the Harvest Havens. Julia with Ken Psyche is online, and once we kind of get back to it, if she wants to talk to the landscaping, the developer has an affinity for landscaping, so the site has massive amounts of landscaping. And we'll just go all the way down to the first building perspective from here, or at least a floor plan. I'll talk to that real quick. Yeah. Right, that's good. So the building is, there's an underground parking ramp with the building. It contains about 17 parking stalls and a mechanical unit. And at the first floor, the building is comprised of two different wings. One is a lobby and amenities or break area wing, and the other wing is a series of offices. There's a total of 17 offices in this building. And in between these two wings, there's a glassy connector. We can go to the rendering and talk to it a little bit more. So we are standing at kind of the entry as you enter the site. What we're looking at on the left-hand side is a two-story office wing, and on the right-hand side is that one-story lobby and break area. The building took precedent from the adjacent barn to the south of the site, but in a modern interpretation. So we're using materials like a stone base, and we're using a whitewashed tongue-and-groove wood to clad the building. Similar to the barn that has a series of shed roofs, we're introducing a series of flat shed roofs instead of the sloped ones that clad the perimeter of the building. The roof itself is a very simple gable form, and that would be cladded with a modern standing steel metal panel. Go to the next slide. Another view from the north with that two-story office wing to the left, and then that main lobby and entry area off to the right. What you're seeing projecting out of that lobby is a gallery space for Sub-Zero. So as you approach into the building and into the lobby, you're greeted by this glassy expression that would contain some of their history on display. Go to the next slide. There's that entry sequence. And as we kind of wrap around the site, we go to the next slide. This is the back entry. So there's a drive that goes down to the underground parking, so you're starting to see that. And what you're starting to see to the right of this is the terrace that we have to the south of the site. If we go to the next slide. So to the south of the building, there's a series of terraced gathering areas that link back down to the Harvest Haven. So off to the left, there's a grilling station, a covered dining area, and then an open gathering space. And then that terrace also steps down to a fire pit area. We can go to the next slide. Just a elevational perspective of that development. You know, with that terrace, or the covered terrace off to the left, along with that single-story gathering area and lobby area on the left as well, and the two-story office volume on the right. Again, this facade is treated in a very similar nature as the front one. So it's all these site walls that you see are clad with stone, and then they have the tongue-and-groove wood siding above them for the rest of the building. Go to the next slide. And just one more view, this would be the east end of the building. So, and last but not least, we don't necessarily want to end on this one, but this is the beautiful shed that Clinton has forced me to put in. No, not forced me, but it's to act as, because the site is extensive, there will be required for like maintenance equipment and stuff like that. So a shed has been added to the site, but the shed is still clad with the same materials. So what you're seeing here is that stone base. There's the tongue and groove wood siding. This side faces Commerce Drive. So to add a little bit more articulation to this shed, we're cladding it with this, I guess this would be the west perspective. We're cladding with a board and batten siding to give it a little more depth and texture. And then that's all I have. Materials. So here are images of the materials. So there's stone at that bottom left. The color of the wood, tongue and groove we're looking, the low E glazing that we're using. The canopies or the shed roofs are clad with a ACM metal panel that would have a black anodized finish, aluminum finish. And then there is the zinc standing seam metal roof and the material down there. And that's the last slide. That's
pretty.
All right, what we have.
Can I make a question, or?
Yeah.
Is the intention to do prairie plantings then, kind of on the grounds around it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a series of different planting mixes. Julia could probably talk to you more, holistically about the wide range of them, but there's a bunch of different types on it.
We are looking to make it more of a less manicured space. Mm-hmm. So, maybe manicure up the sides of the drive, but then the rest of it look more natural.
Great.
I have a couple of questions. Okay. The first one is, what is the capacity for that conference room?
There's 17 seats around the table right now with a series for benching.
It's kind of like an office space?
It's for corporate executives. It's a corporate executive conference.
Yeah,
center.
Because you mentioned that there is 17 offices. So okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we plan to have our executives residing up there, but teams can come on up there to have special events, whatever it might be. So that conference room, even though we have it 17, we can probably put up to 20 around the table if we want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you planning to add any sustainable feature to this building? Because you have a very nice roof there. You can put solar panels.
Yeah, so we're not so much big about putting sometimes that on the building itself. But we are looking at possibly that northwest corner where the shed is right now. Mm-hmm. That would be something possible to what we did with the barn, where we have a self-standing solar field that we can put in the background.
Okay.
So it's a possibility. We just got to take a look at it.
Okay. Shelley, do you have a question?
Yeah. From these pictures, it looks very stark white. Is it really this white? I mean, it looks white. Or is it just kind of the visual here?
It's more the visual. It's a whitewash wood, so it's definitely an off-white. The material up above is an accurate stain that we're trying to achieve on the slide prior to this.
It seemed so bright white, and I wasn't sure that really fit the surroundings and the aesthetic of all the plantings and everything.
Diana, do you want to do your report and then we ask more questions?
I think that you've had an excellent introduction to the proposal of a 2-story office and conference area, about 15,000 square feet. Staff recommends approval with just 7 conditions, one of which is just ensuring that all the lighting is full cutoff or dark sky. And then we'll just be looking to make sure the bicycle stalls are compliant with APBP. But otherwise, staff recommends approval.
Okay. Any additional questions, comments? No? Okay, I need a motion. Anything else that you want to add?
Unless there's something necessary.
I move approval of ADR for Sub-Zero Conference Center with the 7 conditions outlined by staff.
Second.
Who's going to go?
Who's taking it this time? Stephen.
Steven, okay.
Okay, we're going with Stephen.
Okay. All those in favor of the ADR, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. So, okay, thank you.
Very much.
Oh, when are you planning to build this? Sorry.
Right now, we're looking at around the June
Okay.
timeframe.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next we move to item 5F, is the ADR for Simbrick Porsche, request by Stefan Cornels, agent from Simbrick Inc. and TMJ LLP to obtain architectural design review for a proposed expansion to the existing Simbrick facility located at 2300 Rimrock Road. So we have here Thomas Simbrick. He wishes to register only in support. Okay, you don't want to talk, Tom, isn't it? Okay. Stefan Cornels, he wishes to speak in support. And then Jim Tritic, he wishes to speak in and answer question. Okay. Do you have anything?
I think you got it all then.
Right.
Okay.
Got it.
So you can go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jim Tratic. I'm the architect and builder for the project, and I'm here with Tom Zimbrick, the owner of Zimbrick Porsche, and Stefan Cornels, architectural designer. We can give you a quick overview of this. As you had said, it's on Rimrock Road in the Beltline, which is formerly in the town. This is part of the Zimbrick European facility, which includes the Mercedes and Porsche showroom. The Porsche part of the showroom, we're going to redo to the new Porsche standards that are just come out with Porsche of North America. So what we're going to do is basically tear down the showroom and build it back up, almost exactly where it is. We're going to increase the footprint by about 2,200 square feet. And what you're seeing here, the part on the upper left where it's curved is about 7 feet higher than what's existing. So that's basically why we're going to tear it down and then put it back up. And part of this, when we extend it out, we won't be parking cars in front of the building anymore. So this is kind of what you're going to see. This curved ACM panels, architectural composite metal panels. And that's kind of it in a nutshell, except, in the show, it's going to be all new in the showroom as well, all new finishes. It's going to be completely different. And it's got you can just see a part of a skylight that's going to be the focal point when you walk in those front doors. You can just see it kind of poking up there in the upper left. So any questions?
Why are you redoing this?
Because I have to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I don't have to, but there's unintended consequences if I don't.
Oh, because you need to follow the Porsche franchise. I don't know what it is, so something like that.
Yeah, it's a design intent that's being done across the country.
Oh, okay,
I certainly have a choice, but it's something I want to do.
Okay. Okay. Any questions? Diana, can you do your report?
I certainly can. So this is, of course, Zimbrick right up on the corner at the intersection of Rimrock and the Beltline. And they're proposing to just renovate a portion of the overall complex, about 21,000 square feet. There's very small site changes that are needed. The one thing that staff is still working through with the applicant is to move through with a CSM, and I can explain kind of why that CSM is needed. So I'm just going to bring this up on the screen quick. So Public Works, the area that is going to be renovated, if you can kind of catch my teeny little cursor, is in here. And as you can see, currently the site is actually composed of several smaller, maybe like 10 smaller parcels. So staff is also requesting that the applicant bring forward a CSM to consolidate those parcels. And they've already did a significant amount of legwork to identify that this area, which is the current stormwater facility for the site and also their parking lot, is actually their property and not DOT right-of-way. So you'll just see that note in your conditions that Public Works just wanted some documentation that that existing stormwater facility and the parking lot is actually owned by Zimbrick. It is. It's just that we need to do some paperwork to clean up the documentation here.
So who is maintaining that stormwater right now?
I believe Zimbrick is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So staff does recommend approval with the 10 conditions.
Carol?
I'll move approval of the ADR for Zimbrick Porsche.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the ADR, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries, okay? Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for waiting.
Thank you.
So next we move to 5G. Is resolution R-24 approval of the 2024 and 2028 Parks and Open Space and Recreation Plan. Okay, so we are going, Scott, Director of Parks, is here. So he's going to do an update, tell us more about the plan, and then we are going to ask questions, and then if we like it, we approve it.
Very good. Thank you, Julia. Certainly, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention before I begin to discuss the plan is thank Deanna Brunner and Brad within the planning department. They're really the authors of the plan. They're kind of the planning arm of the Park, Rec, and Forestry Department, which is certainly appreciated. And actually, this plan is an update of the plan that was done back in 2015 to 2020. And Wade Thompson, if you may remember Wade, he really kind of did a blow up, if you would, of the plan. And we created a vision statement, a lot of goals, a lot of action items. And this plan really does provide some additional updates, if you would. And before, well, the plan is really, as you probably know, as the plan commission is really the action plan for the Park, Rec, and Forestry Department. So we really use this document as we build new parks and work on future land uses. I did want to, before I get into the plan, and we're not going to spend much time on the plan, if you don't mind. I don't know if you want to go through the plan, but it's got three pieces: the executive summary, which is at the beginning. Then there's a existing conditions portion of the plan, which is in the middle, which inventories all the different parks and the amenities. And then actually the meat of the plan, if you would, is on the back, where we got some goals and action items. And what was really kind of interesting for me, I did provide some additional information at your desk. It did give me a chance to kind of reflect back to 2015 to now 2024. And what I did include on your information is I do a host report. It's actually an annual report of the department, which includes staffing, a little bit about the budget, and then also a little bit about the general park information. And on one side is the 2023 host report, and then on the reverse side is the 2015 host report. And in regards to staffing, in 2015, there was 10.25 full-time equivalents within our department, which is Park, Recreation, and Forestry, compared to today that we have 11.75 full-time equivalents. So we have increased 1.5 full-time equivalents. In the budget area, you can see in the budget for 2024 is almost 2 million. And then if you look on the reverse side, it was a little bit over 1 million in 2015. So that certainly has grown for the department. There's another portion of that section is revenue. If you look at the 2023 revenues, it's about $270,000. And that's revenue that's collected through recreational fees, shelter rentals, diamond rentals, community center rentals. And what's kind of interesting, on the reverse side, in 2015 it was 200,000. But what really is kind of intriguing to me is that in 2019 it was about 260. And then you can kind of see what happened in 2020. You know, COVID hit, but now in 2023, we're at 269. So we're a little bit above what we were pre-COVID. So that was a good sign. The park acreage is really interesting. On the reverse side, it was 507 acres, and we're currently at 788 acres. So it really kind of gives you an indication of the growth of the park system. And on the bottom, in regards to amenities, since 2015, we've added Sunnyside Dog Park, inclusive playground, disc golf course, which is part of the Nine Springs Golf Course, 8 pickleball courts. And what's kind of interesting, too, that we currently have 30-plus miles of trail, but if you look on the reverse side, we had 20 miles. So I guess that really was kind of interesting to me. On the growth of the department within, just a short time of 10 years. I did also include the parkland improvement fee schedule through the planning and development, which gives you an indication of the dollars that are collected through the park improvement fees. So and I will tell you that one of the action items within the plan is to take a comprehensive look at that fee in lieu of parkland dedication and parkland ordinances to and the big needle that we need to thread is we get the parkland development dollars when the development comes in to help us build the facility, but 25 years down the road, when you need to replace, there's no support or capacity to replace those. So that's one of the things that we need to really try to work on to make sure that the facilities are maintained and cared for over the years. I did also include some current projects that you may be interested in. The first one is the Hub, which is really a cool facility. The second one is Stoner Prairie Park. We had recent development in the Stoner Prairie Park, our prairie area, and so we able to build some additional park space, and if you look at the back of that, it kind of gives you a visual. And I know another thing that we're trying to do, and maybe a general comment too, is as I go around to all of the different committees and commissions, it's really kind of interesting that as the parks is the gathering place for everybody, the community, the Park and Open Space Plan is really kind of the gathering place for all the different committees. Every committee really has kind of a piece of the Park and Open Space Plan, and here you can see it in the prairies. So the RCC and Tree Advisory Committee, they're real interested in creating those kind of natural areas. And then the last one is the Egg Park, which is part of Terra Vesa. And again, the overview is on the front page, and then the white perforated area is the area that we're going to concentrate on phase 1, which if you look on the reverse side is a little bit more detail. One other interesting comment or observation, folks see all of these nice new parks, and actually all of these parks are built with parkland dedication fee and fee in lieu of parkland dedication. But the thing is once it's built, then it does need to be maintained. So we need to really work to try and make sure that we have the capacity to maintain these facilities once they're built. So that's kind of my state of the Park Rec and Forestry Department, I guess. And then if you get into the plan, One thing I did want to draw your attention to when Wade redid the plan in 2015, the action item framework, if I might just read this, recreation in public spaces can take many different forms. Conventional forms include basketball, volleyball courts, baseball, softball diamonds, play equipment, natural activities such as walking and hiking. These conventional forms will always have a place in public spaces. This section of the plan looks beyond these conventional forms and looks at recreation on public spaces through three prisms or three visuals. They're called the 3 S's: sociable, where the parks are really the gathering places for the community and provide social interaction. Solitude, the park system does provide places for people to relax and kind of take a break. And then seams, certainly with our trail system and the regional trails that are within the community, we really want to work hard to make sure that we connect all of those. So when a new park comes in, these are kind of the framework that we look at to try and develop that plan for the new park. And then, we've got a vision statement, and then all of our goals, and then, like I say, there's action items that are included also in that part of the plan. And what I'm finding is when I've been going to the different groups, they take a look at each of these action items, if you would, and then they might provide some amendments to tighten up the text, if you would, for their specific interests, which is really good because we're kind of the holder of the plan, but each of the groups that I go talk to has a specific interest in the plan, so they've really been able to provide some insight on some cleanup and more distinctive language for each of the action items. Like I say, what I'm doing is kind of going around to all the different groups, getting their thoughts and feedback, and what we'll do is we'll collect all of that, and with the help of Brad and Indiana, we'll take a look at the suggestions and see how we can incorporate any suggestions or ideas that other committees have, and then it'll go to the Park Commission and eventually get approved by the Common Council. So I'm certainly here to take, any questions or thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I have several. Okay. So thank you for putting this together. I remember I was in Park Commission when we started talking about this. So I have a couple of comments and things that we need to consider, I think, that are missing here. First of all, in page 4, when you talk about this as a 5-year plan, it should be from 2024 to 2029. It shouldn't be 2024 to 2028. I know what you're doing, but this is a 5-year plan. I know that you're counting 24, 29, 35, but usually it's 24 to 29, isn't it?
No, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know.
Sure.
It sounds like, it's 4-year plan if you look at it like this, okay? The other thing that I think is missing in the vision of this plan, I forwarded to you guys last night something that someone from the Park Commission, a Park Commissioner, he used to work in the Madison Park system, so he has experience on park, Chris Peguero. So I sent that to you because I think he made some couple of interesting points that I don't see in the vision any word about if our parks are inclusive, are accessible. Those words I don't see in the vision. I would like to see the word our system of parks are inclusive and also accessible. I don't know. I would like to see that
spelled out.
I don't know. This is me personally. Okay. Maybe take into consideration some of the comments that that were made. Okay, let me go. I have some. Can I go, or anyone has more? I have on page 36, there is a table. You mentioned the facility, activity facility per population size. It will be interesting to have another column and mention how many do we currently have of each. I know that you mentioned in another table that information is there, but it will be, I don't know if, what is the current inventory of this,
Well, and if I might, Julia, I did do some, we've got, because the question was raised at the council meeting, how many basketball courts we actually have. I do have some numbers here. Small gazebos, we have 15. Tennis courts, we've got 14. Pickleball courts, 8. Large shelters, which are rentable types of shelters, we have 12. 13 ball fields, 22 half basketball courts, 6 full courts, and then 40 playgrounds within the system, to give you a little context of that.
No, I get it. But also, this is what I say, because we are including, because in page 38, there is a table number 5. Also it will be nice to have how many we have, how many community parks, how many area parks, how many neighborhood parks we have. That one is a more visual to see our current, inventory. This is our, in page 42, you are missing in this table 6, you are missing to include pickleball courts statistics. I don't know, you have the city standard, how many are required, but I imagine that it will be interesting to add that. One second. I have another. The page 92, when you say, they mention the plan to monitoring, update, and amendments, you have priority levels, priority, ongoing, and action item. It will be, if we're going to do this, to people understand what are the action items, to name them, instead of to put 2B, 3A, 3C, because then you have to go back to so you have a table and say, this is the priority and this is the action item, but mention those action items. So it's more clear for the reader to understand what are those, you know what I mean? And this is for us, policymaker, when we had to make the decision about this, so we need to review this, or we need to invest in park, we say, it was a priority, an action item, and it's clear for us, The other thing that I want to mention is how transportation, maybe when it's discussing TPC, Gabriela, maybe you need to discuss how transportation is linked to this plan. If we discuss in this plan the connectivity that all these parks they need to have, and if they are really connected or not, or if they are not connected in a way from trail or bike paths, or what is missing, what are the things that we need to do to make this system more connectable. Also, the other thing that we discussed, Scott, I don't know if it's one of the item action. When we were in park committee, I was in park committee, we discussed about how to start converting some of the grass area that people don't use more to native plants, so it's easy to maintain, and then we save money also in the long run in mowing, and also it helps the environment, absorption of water, and all of that. And the other thing that I want to introduce, something maybe we need to start thinking about, is when we name parks, the naming of park, it will be interesting if we consult with the Fitchburg Historical Society about if we want to have their advice when we name new parks, because maybe they know the history of the area, the region. It's something that they reach out to me and they offer that. And I say, this is a good idea, you know what I mean? And maybe something, I don't know, is in the plan here, because I didn't see anything about naming parks here. But, and the other thing that I would like to see, Scott, here that I don't see is, I know that we have community gardens in the city, but I would like to see it in a map where they are located, and how many do we have of those community park? You know what I mean? And where they're, to have a visual, I don't know. I don't know. What else? And then, I don't know if you discuss, I don't know, if you have an internal group that you discuss, how do we envision the future parks they will look like? How people are going to enjoy park. What are the things that people are not using, and things that we need to think outside the box? And I don't know if we have done research about what are the trends about new parks or parks of the future. Or we have, because one of the things is that the hub in the Northeast Hatchie Road, there is a confusion about, because people, when we start designing, you remember, Gabriela, people say, we need to add a soccer field, and with this. And that one is considered an urban park, you know what I mean? So the hub is going to be more like our first urban park, because it's located in a very dense area. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's I start thinking, how are the amenities that future park will require, And it's true, because every time that we need to consider this, if you look at the statistic here, they have increased in staffing only 1 person, 1.5. And then everything has doubled. So that one is something that I know that when we build new neighborhood, we need to build a new park, and we start adding park, and I think that the budget for the park department has not grown at the same pace that that all the things that we have been adding in the last 10 years. But also we need to consider, maybe it's a discussion for the future in Park Commission, is we are going to continue to accept all this park land that then we need to maintain, and we don't have the funds. You know what I mean? What is the, those one are common,
And that truly is a needle that needs to be thread. We've got developments that come in and they give us parkland and park improvements. And from their perspective, they want us to build them. And then from the city's perspective, it's hard to maintain them after we get them built, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a tug back and forth, which is a good thing, right? We're growing, we're adding park space and all of those kinds of things, but I think we need to realize that the parks are going to be part of that, and we just need to begin to start to think about how we're going to maintain them and continue because I think I guess I might be kind of tunnel vision, but I think the park space and the recreational space are a great quality of life for our community and the residents that live here. It's intangible, but I think it's a positive thing for our community, that's for sure.
I have other comment. In page 86, you mentioned is an action item, and there are different, at the table 1, in the area of history, you talk about this mention about Old Fitchburg, a museum and food drink opportunity, and something that I am planning to incorporate in the next CIP plan is we are talking about in the future, not now, maybe after, in the next 5 to 10 years, how to create a farm museum here. You know what I mean? To celebrate our heritage as a farm community. Maybe working, with Fitchburg Chamber to how we can do this. Something that I am planting the seed with some of the farmers here about how we can have gathered a place where we can build that. Oregon has one. You know what I mean? Something that is, so maybe we should, something that to consider in the future. And then the other thing that I don't think that we talk too much about in this plan about the recreation area aspect. You know what I mean?
All good thoughts.
You know, if there is a plan for the recreation, how the recreational department in the city of Fitchburg will look like in the next 5 to 10 years, 5 years, what are the activities that they are more in demand? What are the activities that maybe we should include? We are going to have the hub in 1 year, that a small shelter in north of Fish Hatchery. So we need to think about what type of recreation that we are going to bring to that part of town. You know what I mean?
Similarly, I think in the Stoner Prairie redevelopment, I think there's really ripe opportunity for something like a regional frisbee tournament, right, or something like that, where you now have bathroom facilities there. I would hope to God we're resurfacing those fields because it's a wonderful space, but there's a lot of broken ankle or strained ankles on the current gopher holes. So, but I think as we move to bringing some of these spaces in line with being more of a hosting site or a multi-use site, I would agree that I think. One of Fitchburg's, I think, biggest advantages is the park system. It's fantastic here, and I want to see it continue to be one of the jewels of the city that brings people here and attracts people from a quality of the parks, the diversity of the parks, to one of the other points, the accessibility and the variety, right? And so I think I echo a lot of what Julia said in the fact that I want us to be really forward-looking, and I think we've done that We've done it's seemingly a decent job from a green space planning perspective, but now we have to start to look at how are we going to, what's the development of the parks look like, right? And what are we seeing as the opportunities to bring more people into this area and recognize how good it is, or to leverage it in a new way, kind of thing.
We should do an activity, like I say, let's enjoy all the Fitchburg Park in one weekend, and then we have activity in each park. All of that thing we need to start thinking about promoting recreation, showcase our recreation activity, you know what I mean? Something that we need to, I know that there is some activity for Christmas time now we are going to do with the Fitchburg Chamber. That one's great. But I think how we can incorporate and think about promoting all our park system to the rest of the other surrounding municipality. The other thing, I don't know, Diana, this is for you. On page 38, we talk about the population of Fitchburg in 2023, but we already have our current population in 2024. I don't know if we need to add that or update it.
That one might have slipped by us. We can double check those population numbers.
Okay. So that's it for me. Okay, Carol.
I agree with you on everything you said, Julia, and I would also like to say that when we've been in discussions in the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood plan, we were talking about doing some sort of a heritage park to pay homage to the farming community in Fitchburg, and I think that would be a really good place for that.
Okay.
So at our next meeting, I'll probably bring that up again.
Okay.
One of the other things I noticed in your sheet comparing 2015 to current right now is that in 2015, we had 4 natural areas, which are tending to be woodlots, that encompassed 106 acres, and I see now that we have 23 natural areas, and those have only gone up by 20 acres. And I'm wondering if, as we talk about balancing park space that's used for recreation versus park space that's used for natural areas, in our goal to try to maintain a 30% tree canopy, I wonder if putting more value on just wooded areas that we can preserve in areas, so that when we have to do developments in areas where we're losing trees, or if we're losing entire groves of trees to solar farms in our rural areas, if we could, focus having maybe tree gardens. I mean, you think of something like Long and Necker Gardens in the Arboretum, where they have one specimen of every tree that's native to this area, and, other park areas that are more like that, where we're actually adding to our tree canopy, I think would be a good goal for the city to have as well.
And if you look at an oak savanna model, which is what is more traditional for us, you're actually going to get far more varied use. You want to talk about the solitude and kind of opportunities for gathering. You're not only going to get that and the canopy, but then you're going to get, it blends better with the prairie. It offers an open, we shouldn't actually really have choked forest here in a lot of ways. We should have more of these kind of rolling open tree spaces. And so I do think that there's a lot to be said for, things like wildlife corridors and spaces that would still, be hybridized in an accessible way, but still give that native feel, add to the tree cover, stuff like that. I absolutely agree with that.
Where is the Mago wooded area in this park? Name it. In which page are you?
Well, I don't think it's specifically identified,
Why?
Julia. Are you referring to the maintenance of it, or?
No, I mentioned that area, that park, because I went 2 weekends ago because I never walk in that area, and it has a lot of potential for trails and create more trails. But it's in a very bad condition, some areas that they are not clean. So it's something that we need to, I don't know in which part of this is part of the inventory, isn't it?
Yeah, it's included in the middle part, the
Okay.
existing conditions of the park system and all the individual parks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's in the middle section. Or the section 2, the existing conditions report. Each specific park and
This is an
its
natural
description
area
is,
here?
is included in there.
What is exactly the name of that area? I don't see it here.
So it looks like some of them start up on like page 41, where it starts to list kind of some individual, or more like 42, I guess, natural areas, wooded areas, stuff like that.
Oh, 41. Okay. Or it's part of the Mago Park. It's included there, maybe.
I'm looking at in the list of kind of the full inventory, the natural areas.
Yeah.
There's a natural areas section that I guess I'm not certain how the page numbering is working here, but it's
Oh, yeah, here it is, but I don't.
375 in the packet, I guess, the full packet. Yeah.
Because it's a good lot, isn't it? It's a good area. I don't know how you call it. How do you call that area? You remember? What's the name?
Which one?
The Mago. When you go through, the entrance to the
Oh,
Mago.
as you enter into Mago, the front end there, yeah.
S. Johnson?
Huh?
Well, S. Johnson is it's contiguous to McGaw Park, but it's another wood lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
I don't know. I didn't see it here. This is what I asked. Maybe it's under another name, so that I don't recognize. So, okay.
A lot of good thoughts, yes.
Gabriel.
Yeah, just someone sent this to me to point it out. In section 10, it says, oh gosh.
Section 10, which page?
I just lost it. But it's basically talking about the tree goals in
Tree
the
canopy?
Yeah, so someone pointed out that like obviously our overall urban area tree canopy goal is 30% all told, but the way it's written in here makes it sound like the goal for the parks is 30%, but the parks should be higher than that because hopefully the parks are making up for that lack of tree canopy elsewhere in the urban environment. So I know it doesn't specifically say that, but because we only mentioned the 30% tree canopy goal, sorry, I found it. It's page 10 and 11 of the actual report, and pages 401 and 402 of the packet. So I don't know if we as part of the goal, we want to increase the number of trees we have in the property that's not being used for those open field type activities. I think there's no reason why we couldn't add as many trees as possible in those spaces.
I think we're going to need to do that in order to. It says develop a goal of 30% of cities' urban service areas. So certainly parks are a piece of that. Yeah, I don't think that limits. A specific park or the park system to 30. I think the park system has to. It's an opportunity to do a little bit more in order to reach that city urban service area of 30%.
I would recommend that. I think that that's a really good opportunity for us to leverage some of these initial funds, right? I mean, trees are one of these longevity things where if we are using the early funds to establish the parks and then those are establishing over time and kind of, growing in these spaces, I think that's another thing we need to think of as an initial investment into when we set these parks out. If we're trying to plant them, at a density or in a way that's going to help, enhance this cover, take us past this 30% in the park space, I think that should be in the planning or seen as, something that can be prioritized or whatever by, the credits from developers, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess like item 10B, it just seems like it should say, the way, I don't know, I kind of understand what it's getting at, but I feel like it's kind of confusing the way it's worded. And
Well, I think that's how we can tighten up, tighten up that language and be more descriptive.
Yeah.
And there's been others that have mentioned that, so that's, we'll figure out a way to make that clearer,
more
if you
explicit.
would.
That's part of the piece of moving towards that, as our parks are a big piece
Well,
of
and
that.
I think the parks provide an opportunity to help with that 30% for the
Exactly.
whole, right?
Yeah, precisely.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
That it's the floor, not the goal, right? That 30% is the minimum for the parks, but we should actually be projecting beyond that to make up for
the
elsewhere,
other areas,
basically,
exactly.
the terraces on the streets that we can't, plant a tree on or whatever, stuff like that.
Right. No doubt.
I think that we can rework that
Yeah.
language to clarify that 30% is not a minimum or a target.
Zach, and then you, Gabriel.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree on the trees front. I live in the McGaw area and Swan Creek, Quarry Hill, McGaw. Like, there's tons of spaces where probably should have more trees. But I maybe have a more logistic question. We're talking about this, and this is great, but it seems a little early for us to be considering improving this. So are we just going to defer this, given that the Parks Commission hasn't seen this, and there seems to be a lot of changes that need to be made to this actual plan?
And really what we're doing is we're going around to the different groups, and that's the same sentiment that everyone else has. Zachary, we're kind of gathering
information.
I'm kind of going around gathering all the different feedback and thoughts and comments from the different
And that makes sense, Scott. I'm confused that we're approving potentially a resolution to approve the plan, but if the plan isn't done, what are we approving exactly?
Right.
So I guess I'm asking, does it make sense for us to be approving anything tonight?
Well, and I kind of came in with that because, we got this 4 days ago. I barely started to scratch this today,
Yeah,
right?
I
I would love to
haven't looked at it at
spend
all, really.
a lot more time with this, and this is the first I'm seeing it was honestly today because of when I opened the email. And so I would personally request, I don't know what the cycle is going to look like, but, love the comments you brought. I think I would love to sit with this a little bit more or hear the updates from other committees, right?
It will give, I will say, it will be great, I don't know, because you're collecting, it's running through, I don't know how many committees. I will say more than 6-7 committees going there. But it's going to be great for us also at the end that you can gather all the comments from each committee so we can see what TTC say, what RCC, what Park Commission, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It will be great to see that because then we can see those comments where, because I will say, I am providing all these comments, but I would like to see those comments in the park. And I would like to see in the final product, I would like to see, but also I would like to see what other committees' inputs, are, because, there are a lot of things that are missing here that I already mentioned that maybe in other commissions are going to discuss that. But I don't know if, I don't, this was, we can say that this plan should be coming back to us when it's finalized, and then we approve it there.
And I don't see any problem with that. I can certainly go around and share the updates with everybody. It's a good exercise, right? It's worth the time to make sure we go through it. And I know everybody's busy and they've got other things that they're working on, and you just see it for the first time when it's in front of you, and you go, oh man, there's really a lot. So I think we've accomplished the goal of getting it in front of everybody, and everyone's taking a look at it. And
because
there's no rush to get it approved.
I'm going to give you an example. There is a picture here about something that we used to do in like the father-daughter dance. We are not doing that anymore. So what we're going to put here, we are going to do it in the future. So this is a lot of things, cleaning and things that we need to do, and if we don't do that activity, we shouldn't put that picture, because it's a false statement that we are doing this and we are not doing it. So.
But I also want to communicate, a lot of this is excitement, certainly for me, right? I've got young kids. I love walking through McKee and seeing a Ninja Warrior course and telling my daughter, who loves that the next park that's going to be there is going to be a client.
Can she demonstrate? We're going to have a ribbon cutting. We need someone to demonstrate.
Sure, she's only 6, so I don't know how much she can demonstrate.
You got my name and number. You give me a shout.
No, she's I'm excited to see. And hear about the things we have coming, and I'm excited to think about raising 2 young kids here and having them play multiple sports and taking them to events. And
that's our goal.
We go to McKee Farms all the time for stuff, and so I think there's such a good foundation here to build on. And so I both appreciate this, and I hope you see a lot of excitement and engagement from these other committees, because clearly this is really important to this city, and I think it's one of our draws and one of our biggest advantages.
And I'm kind of performing one of my functions, right, to be an advocate for Park Rec and Forestry. So I'm going around to all the different groups and bring it in front of them, so they really do realize the importance, but certainly the value that it provides to families and young families.
But I would also say, I think one of the things you touched on that I'd love to circle back to is, I think we also need to think about a PR campaign, or more of one, I guess I should say, because, I think stuff that comes up, we tell people about the parks in Fitchburg, we host events at them, and I think it ends up pulling people from the area to things, and I think they're often surprised, right? They're often surprised at how affordable it is, at how good the amenities are. And so I think, thinking about what's the series that we put together to call attention to residents and beyond that, come here to engage in these types of activities and really use these amenities. I think, a series that would feature that or get creative about what people have done in the parks kind of thing would be really valuable.
In fairness, too, you can kind of see the capacity that we had 10 years ago and the capacity we have right now. And certainly these are all great, but we're just trying to, get the programs offered and get the stuff maintained. And, there's a lot of work that goes into just doing it as we have. But certainly all these are, and again, I think that's, there's alders that are on each of these committees, so they, that helps.
Well, and I would agree. I would say, one of my goals from this is to think through how to partner with you to bring forward initiatives, right? To expand your ability to do some of this stuff, or ask for, volunteers in the city to contribute, in ways that they can towards this.
Right.
Because I want to see this flourish. I can fully appreciate that you guys are strapped and you guys are working as hard as you can to keep growing this and make it great, and want to appreciate what can we do to help that kind of thing.
Appreciate it, Josh. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Just a note for the commission too. So we have a GIS section on our website, which I feel a few people know exists. At the very, very bottom of the main page, there's a section called Popular Resources, and it says GIS Maps. And within that section, there's these story maps. If you scroll down, there's one about the parks. There's another one for sustainability, which is cool too. But it's actually really cool. And it'll walk you through the park system with images and maps, and it's really beautiful. If Deanna's going to pull it up right here. But anyway, that's I think it's a perfect example of, there it is, yeah.
And the thing, not to interrupt you, Gabriella, but that was, the city created a GIS specialist, so dedicated a person to that. So these are the things that Dakota was able to do for us, which, is priceless, right?
Another thing that I forgot to mention is I met with the people from the Landmark Preservation Committee a couple of weeks ago, and they have a cool idea that maybe I need to talk to you or maybe put it in the next budget. Is they would like to, in the bike trail that we have signage, we should have some signage that say what are our landmarks here in the city. The QR code, and say, if you continue in this bike path, you can go through this house, and they have the history. And I say, this is a very neat idea. I don't know.
I thought we already approved that years ago. I mean, I'm serious. I wonder if there's already money somewhere that's been approved for that. We had a heritage bike tour where there were supposed to be identifying signs to talk about each individual, the history of the farming community. So I wonder if there's approved money somewhere. Do you remember that, Scott?
Oh, I was looking at the, I'm sorry.
We had approved signage a long time ago for the rural bike routes and for some of the other trails that we have to identify the historical areas that we have.
Well, and actually Wade did do a little bit of work along that trail.
And I thought we got some stuff approved, so I wonder if we don't have an approval
I think that
somewhere.
would be a good idea. You know, I want to do more research and then to see if there are some money to put in, because you need to add another signage in there. You know, not everywhere, but with a QR code, and people with the phone can say, okay, where are they?
Where am I?
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
especially with, as dense as our communities are becoming, I think, maintaining a connection to the history of our area and the history of the people that lived in this area, like you said before, referencing the email we got today. I think it's important to maintain our roots along with moving into the future. So I think that's a really good idea.
Sorry, I love parks. So.
It's fine.
The only other ask I'll put out, and I know it's a little niche, but I think it's relevant to this conversation, is there's a lot of research coming out around the tire mulch and around the fact that in these hot conditions, they're seeing some degradation of that tire mulch and some leaching of chemicals out of that.
Oh, wait, what are you talking?
So that a number of the parks have the mulch tires, and while I can fully appreciate the sustainability of that element, I don't really know that I want kids rolling in it on a hot day, right? So, and so I'm curious if things like that, like how does that come forward, and what's kind of the best way to drive, the city to kind of reassess.
Maybe.
Well, and certainly that's you've got wood fibers, which you got to do it all the time. Mm-hmm. And so this is the next step. The best next step is poured in place. I don't know if you're familiar with poured in place, like on the inclusive playground, but that is really expensive.
Yeah.
But again, you invest up front, and then you're good, right?
It's good. But I think our goal should be that all the new parks that we build should be inclusive.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
They are, Julia, and they've got transition, but it's wood fiber, which is ADA certified. But again, the poured in place is the best.
Yeah.
But you put $50,000 into the playground structure, you're going to put $50,000 into the poured in place. So it's really the funding that you need in order to do that.
So. Maybe an aside conversation, but I do find it interesting that we take the amount of mulch that we do and just give it, or largely pay somebody to take it away, right? And the fact that if we have an ultimate source, a needed source, where then we're paying somebody else to bring wood chips into the parks, right? I do think there's some circular economies here that we could also assess of. Does it make sense for us as a municipality to shift the way we approach that so that it becomes a resource that we use in these parks rather than something we're paying, Pelletary to take somewhere else?
Well, and they're certified, so it's not just regular wood mulch. It's a certified wood mulch, if you would. So
maybe not attainable through that route. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. I think the idea of and you don't have to have poured in place in the whole playground, but the idea of beginning to start to incorporate the poured in place in areas that make sense, it could be a compromise in between, right? Yeah. So you begin to start to work on those, but it does add cost. That's for sure.
Any other
Appreciate
comments?
the conversations.
Stephen, do you have any comment? Do you play with your kid in McKee? You take your kid to the park? Yeah.
What do we do with this then?
I just had the.
Oh, Shelley wants
Can
to.
I just?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say that since people were adding their wish lists, and since the document is supposed to talk about equity, I think we need a community swimming pool. Having grown up in Milwaukee, where there were community, public, free swimming pools every several miles, and now kids barely can swim anywhere unless they join a private pool. And I know it's a cost, it'd be really costly, but we do talk about having public-private partnerships. And I don't know if this document gets into that kind of detail, but I'm putting in a pitch for a community swimming pool.
Oh,
Good.
mercy.
Hey, this is, this is everything that we would like to see in the future of the park. So it's going to be costly, but okay.
Should we postpone this, or should we table it and have it come
I
back?
think we should table until yeah.
All right, I'll move to table resolution R2424.
We have to have an end date.
Well, if
on
you
the
table it, it just takes it off. If we postpone it, we have to have a date.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right. Can we bring something back that's tabled? We can, right?
I don't know. I mean, you could certainly
I just
postpone. You could postpone indefinitely. You don't. Have
Okay,
to
I'll
have
move
a
to
date.
postpone indefinitely resolution R2424.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of postponing resolution R-24-24, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Sherry. The motion carries. So we will see you when everything is
I'll
fine.
see you the second time around.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow. Committee of the whole. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we move to item 5H. Is resolution R-50-24 approving the relocation order and TPP amendment number 1 related to reconstruction of Sain Road Phase 2 is north of East Sherwood Parkway to West Clayton Road. Okay, Deanna, what is this?
So the next two items are related to the reconstruction of Sain Road. So transportation plat. This has already come before Plan Commission previously, and these are some amendments to the previously approved transportation plat. As the design work has moved forward and as the planning team has refined the documents, they have to make some amendments to the original transportation plat and some changes about where the temporary easements are going to be located. So staff suggests approval of both of them.
Any comments, questions? So why did they come to us, is it?
These have always come to plan.
Yeah?
I don't know why.
Okay. Okay, so I need a motion.
I'll move approval of resolution R-5024.
Second.
All those in favor of resolution R-50-24 say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries.
And I'll move approval of resolution R-5124.
Second.
All those in favor of resolution R-51 say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. So next we move to 5J.
5J. So 5J is the subdivision improvement agreement for the plat of the 4th addition to Terra Vesta. So back in February, Plan Commission approved the final plat. And as part of our process, it's just in our normal process to prepare a subdivision improvement agreement. And what that covers is all of the public improvements in that plat. So all of the roads, the utility lines, the sidewalks, and it's just the agreement. Plan Commission, this comes to Plan Commission, and it also goes to Council. And staff recommends approval of the subdivision improvement agreement.
Any questions? Need a motion.
I'll move approval of resolution R-5224.
Second.
All those in favor of resolution R-52 say aye.
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 The motion carries. So next we go to move to item 5K is committee and commission and board staff contact guide. Is a discussion and question on the newly distributed committee, commission, and board staff contact guide by city administration. So, I don't know, you want to explain what it is?
I can speak briefly. This isn't an item to vote. The administration has worked with an internal team to develop this staff guide, and it's just mostly a guide for staff to help us manage the committees that we are assigned. And we wanted to make sure that it was shared with each one of the committees and commissions. And what it does is just goes over some of the procedures before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. I don't believe that you'll find any changes in how this meeting operates, but we did want to definitely share this with the commission, and I will try to answer any questions that you may have.
One of the things that we are trying to do internally is to create process and procedures that there are a couple of them that are missing, and so that this one is a good guide for staff that they are in commission. We talk about the minutes here, see, isn't it? Yeah, we are trying to be consistent how every commission write minutes because it was all over the board. So there is a lot of things that they are like guidelines. So I think this is good. Mm-hmm. Any question, comment? Yeah. No? Okay. So next we move to the report from the department.
So I'll just briefly give you an update on the neighborhood plans. We've had the third steering committee meeting for each South Stoner Prairie and Greenfield neighborhood plan. There's two two locations up on the website that keeps track of all the documentation. There's currently a South Stoner Prairie survey that is available, which probably will be closing quite soon. We have publicly brought before three different bubble diagrams for potential land use areas, kind of up for discussion. If you have any specific questions, and of course the meetings are always open to the public too. Once we get a little bit more refined on the areas of future land use, I will bring those to Plan Commission. So we're working through the process on it. Yeah.
Is it possible to let us know when the due date is for the Stoner Prairie? Because I keep reminding people about the survey, but it'd be nice to have a due date for it so people know when the last time.
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I will get that.
You can do it. I did it.
Oh, I did it. But I've still been telling people to take it, and on the website it says it was due by February 26th.
Okay.
Somewhere.
February 26th?
It says it on the website, on the South Stoner Prairie website, so yeah, it'd be good to update that or take off the date so people don't think it's closed.
Okay.
And the other thing that you can update is that we are in the hiring process for the community specialist.
Yes, we definitely are. So currently, there's a new position for the planning department called the community development specialist. That position is currently open and accepting applications. The primary role for this position is to lead and support the Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative program. We're really excited to be able to have someone specialized in just the community piece of the outreach of what we've been doing in the planning department. And so the applications will probably close late next week. I think they might get extended a little bit past the 24th, just because of scheduling. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and start reviewing the applications, and hopefully we can bring someone on in about a month.
Okay, thank you.
And there's a housing specialist too. It's in the economic development department, but obviously it'll have implications for plan.
It will. Yep. There's also an open position for housing specialist. Mm-hmm.
Any other question for the department? No? So now we have reports from the Ag and Rural Affairs Committee reports. So Shelley, any update?
No meeting this month.
Okay, thank you. Gabriela from TTC.
I had to miss the meeting. I haven't had a chance to review it, so I'll talk about that next time.
Okay. Any other announcement?
I have one.
Yeah.
For the commissioners, if you haven't heard, we did send out a referendum survey to every household in Fitchburg. You should have received like a full page kind of thing. I would encourage everyone to take it. It's due by Friday. And if you have a second person in your household that's of voting age that wants to take it, you can email the city clerk and get a second code for that person to take it as well. And I'd also encourage you to kind of share it out with your networks. I don't know how much traction it's gotten in terms of people paying attention to it, but since you all are very engaged citizens, I wanted to flag it for you.
Thank you. So I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned at 8:49. Thank you very much.